You were looking at the USS Abraham Lincoln, 100,000 tons of nuclear-powered steel moving into Iran's orbit, offshore, in range, on station. In the Gulf of Oman, the OSINT tells are already showing, traffic patterns shifting, AIS going quiet, everyone acting like this water just turned hostile. Why? The strike stack is now in place. And here's the tell, this isn't theater. The US isn't just moving offense, it's moving the shield. Patriot and THAAD air defense systems have been pushed into the region to blunt retaliation if Iran answers with drones or ballistic launches. Tonight, we reconstruct it, minute by minute, and show you how the US Navy builds a 500-mile bubble of air superiority, how the Iranian IRGC is trying to flood that bubble with saturation attacks, and the specific cheap trick the US Air Force is using to solve a $1 million math problem. Welcome to the watch floor. 0430 local time. Location: North Arabian Sea, approximately 180 nautical miles southeast of the Strait of Hormuz. The USS Abraham Lincoln is currently operating in what we call the Goldilocks zone. It is close enough to launch strikes into mainland Iran without refueling, but far enough offshore to stay out of the visual range of the IRGC's Mosquito fleet of fast boats. Official Navy releases confirm the Lincoln is accompanied by a heavy escort package: the USS Frank E. Peterson Jr., the USS Michael Murphy, and the USS Spruance. Based on standard doctrine for a high-threat entry, the formation is likely shifted from a transit cruise to a war-fighting posture. The destroyers aren't just following the carrier anymore. They have pushed out 20 to 30 miles to form a defensive picket. Imagine the Combat Information Center on the USS Spruance right now. The atmosphere is quiet, cold, and dark. The spy radar screens are washing the room in blue light. They are looking for breathers, submarines snorkeling to recharge batteries, and snoopers, civilian dehows that might be hiding IRGC spotters. The Lincoln turns into the wind. The deck is green. It is stacked with the full strike menu: F-35 Lightning IIs for stealth penetration, EA-18G Growlers for electronic attack, and squadrons of Super Hornets. And this isn't a few jets. The ship is crewed by roughly 5,000 sailors and carries dozens of aircraft, with reporting often describing the air wing at the scale of multiple squadrons, around 8 in some tellings. The Seahawks matter too: MH-60RS helicopters running ASW, rescue, and utility around the formation, and the CMV-22B Osprey is the lifeline, moving parts and people that keep the deck generating sorties. The first asset off the catapult isn't a fighter jet. It's the E-2D Advanced Hawkeye. This is the quarterback. The moment that Hawkeye reaches altitude, the battlefield changes. Its AN/APY-9 radar spins up, and suddenly, the US Navy can see over the curvature of the Earth. They can see the taxiway movements of Bandar Abbas Air Base inside Iran. They can detect the rotation of coastal radar batteries. The Lincoln hasn't fired a shot, but by simply launching this one plane, it has legally and electronically annexed the airspace for 300 miles. 0615 local time. Tehran knows the giant is here. We are seeing reports of increased GPS jamming along the Strait of Hormuz. This is the standard Iranian greeting, and the messaging layer is already loud. Iranian officials have framed their forces as on high alert, warning that even a limited strike would be treated like all-out war and met with the hardest response. Iran's military doctrine is not designed to win a symmetrical fight. They know they cannot win a blue water naval battle against American destroyers. If they line up ship for ship, they fall. Instead, their strategy is saturation. It is traffic jam warfare. The Iranian goal is to flood the American defense bandwidth with more targets than the US has radar channels to process. They want to create a fatal math problem. Here is the equation the captain of the USS Spruance is running in his head right now. He has 96 vertical launch system cells. Iran can launch 500 cheap one-way drones in a single wave. If the US uses a $2 million SM-2 missile to take down a $20,000 Shahed 136 drone, the US Navy goes bankrupt before lunch. If they run Winchester out of ammo, the carrier goes down. This is the nightmare scenario. And right now, Iranian ground forces are posturing to simulate exactly this. And it won't be one vector. Iran's most realistic opening battle is multi-vector: drones plus missiles plus decoys, with proxy pressure in places like Iraq and Yemen designed to widen the noise and force mistakes. We can assume IRGC fast attack craft, the Nedin and Thondar classes, are swarming out of the littorals, staying just inside their territorial waters, painting the U.S. fleet with fire control radar. They are daring the Americans to flinch. It's a game of chicken played with nuclear capabilities. 0845 local time. This is where the U.S. flips the table on the saturation math. While the carrier air wing handles the high-end threats, we are tracking the presence of land-based F-15E Strike Eagles, specifically the 494th Expeditionary Fighter Squadron, the Panthers. These jets have been modified for a very specific, unglamorous job: volume defense. Usually an F-15 carries heavy air-to-air missiles like the AMRAAM, great for neutralizing MiGs, terrible for stopping cheap drones. But look at the loadout we've seen in recent photos. They are carrying pods of Advanced Precision Engagement Weapon System 2. The APKWS is essentially a dumb 70mm Hydra rocket, the kind we've used since Vietnam, fitted with a laser guidance kit on the nose. Cost? Dirt cheap, approximately $25,000. Capacity? An F-15 can carry dozens of them. Accuracy? Laser surgical. Here is how the intercept happens. The E-2D Hawkeye detects a swarm of 40 Iranian drones launching from the coast. Instead of alerting the destroyers to waste their expensive missiles, the Hawkeye vectors in the F-15Es. The Strike Eagle becomes a flying goalie. The Weapons Systems Officer, WSO, in the back seat uses the targeting pod to laser designate the drones, which are essentially flying lawnmowers with explosives. The pilot ripples off rockets. Fox 3, Splash 1, Fox 3, Splash 2. In April 2024, during the massive Iranian barrage on Israel, an attack involving 170 drones and 120 ballistic missiles, F-15 crews were taking down drones so fast they reportedly ran out of missiles and contemplated using their guns. This system tells Iran, "We know you're going to use volume, so we brought a platform that can return volume without burning our budget." 10 o'clock local time. While the F-15s sanitize the air, the destroyers, Spruance and Frankie Peterson Jr., are focused on the Vampires. A Vampire is the brevity code for an incoming anti-ship cruise missile, ASCM. This is the real threat. Systems like the Iranian Abu Mahdi missile, range 1,000 kilometers plus, are designed to skim the water, hiding behind waves to avoid radar detection until the last seconds. As the task force pushes north, the destroyers likely execute a sprint and drift. One ship accelerates to high speed to push the sensor perimeter forward, while another hangs back to guard the carrier. They are building a layered cake of destruction for any incoming missile. Outer layer, 100 plus miles. The SM-6 missile. It can hit targets over the horizon, guided by the Hawkeye's data. Mid-layer, 50 miles. The SM-2, the workhorse of the fleet. Inner layer, 5 miles. The ESSM, Evolved Sea Sparrow missiles. These are fast, quad-packed missiles designed for leakers that get through the outer net. Last resort, 1 mile. The CIWS Phalanx, the 20mm Gatling gun that sounds like a chainsaw. If this gun fires, things have gone very, very wrong. But there is a hidden layer here that Iran cannot track. We must assume, based on every carrier deployment in the last 30 years, that there is a nuclear-powered fast-attack submarine operating below the floor. While the Lincoln is visible on every satellite app, the SSN is a ghost. It provides a massive bank of Tomahawk cruise missiles that cannot be boxed in. It is the silent knife held against the throat of the Iranian submarine bases. It keeps the Iranian Kilo-class subs docked, because they know if they sortie, they are lost before they reach deep water. Current status. The pieces are set. The Lincoln is on station. The F-15Es are orbiting. The destroyers are hot. The question now is, what is the trigger? A carrier strike group isn't a blunt instrument. It's a rheostat. The commander can dial the pressure up or down. If the order comes to strike, our analysis suggests 3 distinct shapes of operation. Option A, the limited pressure strike. This is a message, not a war. The U.S. targets specific proxy hubs in Yemen or isolated IRGC surveillance radars. Asset? Tomahawks from the sub or destroyers. Goal? Coercion. Stop what you are doing. Option B, the door kicker sequence. This is if Iran engages back. This is a SEAD, Suppression of Enemy Air Defenses campaign. Phase 1. EA-18G Growlers jam the Iranian coastal radar network, blinding them electronically. Phase 2. F-35Cs use stealth to slip inside the air defense bubbles and destroy the S-300 batteries. Goal? Open the skies for follow-on bombers. Option C. The Persistent Pressure Campaign. This is the carrier's superpower, endurance. The U.S. doesn't launch one wave and go home. They keep jets overhead 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They strike, wait for movement, and strike again. Psychological effect? It forces the Iranian military to remain on high alert indefinitely, which breaks equipment and exhausts crews. And even if the U.S. is the main stack, it's not alone in the sky. The U.K. has described a Typhoon Squadron deployment shared with Qatar into the Gulf region as defensive, coalition posture tightening at the edges. However, there is one thing that could stop this fleet cold. It's not an Iranian missile, it's a diplomatic cable. A carrier is nuclear. It can run for 20 years without refueling. But its escorts, they run on marine diesel. The jets, they drink JP-5 aviation fuel by the ton. The sailors, they need food. The strike stack is tethered to a logistics train. The USNS supply ships need to shuttle back and forth to regional ports in Bahrain or the UAE to keep the fleet fighting. If regional partners, feeling Iranian retaliation, deny the U.S. access to their ports, the strike stack becomes a logistics nightmare. The destroyers have to leave the formation to refuel further away, weakening the shield. Iran knows this. Their diplomatic strategy is just as aggressive as their missile strategy. Threaten the neighbors so they close the ports. If the host nation's support dries up, the tactical tempo slows down. This is the invisible battle happening right now in the embassies of Doha and Abu Dhabi. So where do we stand right now? We are in a period of maximum ambiguity. The Abraham Lincoln is physically present. The Strike Eagles are loaded. The THAAD batteries on the ground are active. The U.S. has built the capacity to strike and the capacity to absorb the counterpunch. But in a hybrid standoff, the enemy always gets a vote. Escalation can spike in the time it takes for a single drone to cross a radar threshold. Is this the prelude to a door-kicker operation? Or is this the ultimate negotiating tactic? If this goes hot, what's Iran's opening move? A mass drone swarm at sea? Ballistic missiles into regional bases? Or a Hormuz pressure play that turns the water into a live wire? Bye for now.